Oh, hi. Excuse me, Bob. Excuse me, Duck. Hi, I'm out here on the end of Navy Pier with Chicago's most famous psychiatrist, Dr. Newhart. He was very popular in the 70s and 80s, made Chicago famous. But he's retired now. But he has this office here at the end of Navy Pier, granted to him from the city of Chicago because of all that he did for the city. And he doesn't have normal office hours, but he does handle especially difficult cases. And I wrote to Bob and said, I have a problem and nobody seems to be able to help me with it. Well, Dr. Newhart, I'm sorry. You don't mind that, do you? No, he's pretty good about that stuff. And said, I'm a teacher and my students don't seem to like me. What's my problem? Can you help me? And Dr. Newhart wrote back and said, I know what your problem is. You're just a terrible teacher. Of course they don't like you. And I said, no, I can prove to you that's not true. So we agreed to meet here in one of his Sunday sessions, his sunrise sessions, and I'm going to demonstrate a lesson. And he will determine just how bad I really am and if that's truly my problem. So I had to pick something we haven't covered yet, and one of the themes that we don't have done is the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives. What does that even mean? What's a comparative or a superlative form of an adjective? Well, it's when you use an adjective to compare two things or multiple things. So let's say I wanted to say Sam is big, and I wanted to compare him to Charlie, but I can say Charlie is bigger, or Sam is bigger than Charlie. That's a comparison. And a superlative would be to say, wow, Sam is the biggest of the whole group. And fortunately for us, as is the case with so many things, because they're related languages, German and English function in the exact same way. We could not ask for the comparative and superlative forms of adjectives and adverbs to be easier in German than they are. How am I doing so far? All right. He's not very impressed. So let me explain to you how it works. First of all, in English, we add an ER. Bigger, smarter, faster, smaller, prettier, thinner. Pick your adjective. That's the comparative form. In German, it's essentially the same thing. You add an ER. That's it. You add an ER. And if the adjective is a monosyllabic adjective that means it only has one syllable and it can take an umlaut, you give it an umlaut. There are a handful of exceptions, but there aren't that many. It's not that big a deal. We're not going to worry about them now. One syllable gets an umlaut. If it's if it can take an umlaut and add an ER, and if not, you just add an ER. So look at this, schnell. Okay, it's one syllable, but there's no place to put an umlaut. So the comparative form of schnell is schneller. Fast, faster. Excuse me, Bob. Okay, now, the superlative form, same thing. What do we do in the superlative form in English? We add an ST. Biggest, fastest, smartest, smallest, cutest. What? Same thing. How could we ask for it to be any easier? You simply say especially if it's an adverb, you have to do it this way because they can't have adjective endings. And then you take the adjective and you add STEN. Schnellste. ST is the superlative form, the EN is an ending over here from the schnellste. Look at that. So take the adjective kalt. Kalt, kälter, right? It's monosyllabic. A can take an umlaut, you give it to it, and you have kalt, kälter. Kurz, kürzer, am kürzesten, right? Kurz is this, I don't have it on here. Kurz is short, of course. It's the positive form, the form that's not a comparative or superlative form, it's the positive form. You can take an umlaut, put it on there, put on the ER, you got shorter, kürzer. And shortest is am kürzesten. Now notice, I underlined the S10. You know how with verbs, before you add an ST, if the stem ends in T, or S or SZ or Z, you have to add an E. Same thing with adjectives. So kurz, but you have to add the E before you add your ending. Kürzeste, am kürzesten, the shortest. Okay, der Weg von hier bis nach Milwaukee ist hier am kürzesten. It's the shortest way to get there. Now, what does that look like in a sentence? Hugo ist alt, ich bin älter. That's all. Hugo ist alt, ich bin älter. And then this apart, because we're comparing multiple things, but Klaus is the oldest of all of us. Klaus ist am ältesten. Alt, one syllable, A, gets an umlaut, then you have elt. You can't add the ST until you put the E, and then your EN ending, and you have Klaus ist am ältesten. Actually, sounds like I'm talking a lot, but it's all very easy. Okay? And remember, these are adjectives and adverbs, and when they're adjectives, they sometimes take adjective endings whenever they're modifying a noun. So let's say the understood noun in here is Junge or Mann. Klaus ist der Älteste. You got ältest is your superlative form, and then you have to put the appropriate adjective ending on. You can refer back to my adjective ending description as to what makes E the correct ending here. Aber ist der Älteste von uns allen. He's the oldest of all of us. Let's look at a few other examples. Here's one where there is no umlaut. More than that, it's also a very, very, very important exception. And I'll get to exceptions later on in here, but look at this one. Ich habe eine gute Idee. I have a good idea. Look what it is. I mean, once again, English, German, cousins, kids, cousins. Look at it. English, good, better, best. In German, how could we ask for it to be any easier? Gut, besser, am besten. Right? So besser, it's an exception that you have to memorize. There's a handful of them, and I'll show you others that have to be memorized, just like in English. There's no, how do you know that it's not gooder? You either live in a country and hear it all the time, or use it all the time, or you memorize it. It's better. It's not gooder. And the same thing in German. It just has to be memorized. Gut, besser, am besten. And that besser gets its adjective ending. Ich habe eine bessere Idee. Here, ich kaufe den billigsten Anzug. I'm just showing you the adjective endings there. Billig is cheap. Billigst is cheapest, but of course it's modifying the noun Anzug. It has to have an adjective ending. The adjective ending rules come to play here, and you have Ich kaufe den billigsten Anzug. And this one I particularly like. Remember the word for clean? Sauber. It ends in ER. So what's cleaner? You have to add another ER. Sauberer. And then what if you have an ER adjective ending? What if it's a situation that calls for an ER adjective ending? Is it possible? Is it possible that it ends in ER, ER, ER? Yes, it is. Look. Ein sauberer Wagen steht in der Garage. A cleaner car is in the garage. Look at this. The word for clean is sauber. The word for cleaner is sauberer. The ER ending. And then you apply your adjective ending. It's a strong ending. The ein has no ending. Ein sauberer Wagen steht in der Garage. Isn't that neat? Isn't that neat? Okay. What else do we... What about when you're comparing things? You're saying, okay, the car is cleaner, the boy is faster, older, smarter, whatever. What about when you compare the two of them? Okay, that would be als. ER plus als. That would be the equivalent to the word then in English. Okay, meine Katze ist kleiner als ich. Meine Katze ist kleiner als. AR als. My cat is smaller than I am. Smaller than, kleiner als. What if we're the same size? Okay. My dog is as big as. As. How do I get that as in German? So wie. so wie. Now that's not a comparative form anymore, because think about it. My dog is as big as I am. That's the positive form. But you do need to learn that as, so wie. Mein Hund ist so groß wie eine Kuh. My dog's as big as a cow. Mein Hund ist so groß wie eine Kuh. My dog's as big as a cow. And there's another expression. What if you said she's getting prettier and prettier? In German, you don't say hübscher and hübscher. You could say it and people will understand it. It's not that big a deal. But there is a proper way to say that. And that is to preface the comparative form with immer, always. Okay? Sie wird immer hübscher. She's getting always prettier, literally translated. She's getting prettier and prettier. And then finally, je desto. Je desto is in English the. Huh? What about there, or die, or das, or whatever? Well, this is like an expression like the more. This is using comparative forms. The more, the merrier. The more, the better. Stuff like that. The two thes are expressed in German using je desto. Je mehr, desto besser. The more, the better. I'm getting near the end of the presentation. Oh my gosh. He's got so many notes that he's taken. This is not a good sign. But anyway, here are a couple of important exceptions I want to show you. Okay, we already talked about gut, besser, best, right? And the best has to have an ending. Is that a drone? Is that a drone? What's going on here, Doc? Oh, it's one of those planes with ads, huh? I bet that interferes with lots of the sessions. This guy never says anything. It drives me nuts. He just takes these notes. If you didn't come here with problems, you're sure going to have them sitting here with him, I'll tell you. Okay. So, I don't know if you can hear me over. What are we advertising? I don't know. I can't see it directly overhead. But it's fading out now. Gern. We all know what gern means. It means to like to verb, Jason, basically. Ich esse gern Spargel. I like to eat asparagus. So think about it. In English, what are the comparative and superlative forms of this like? Well, prefer and like most of all. Prefer, what's that? That is lieber. So the comparative form of gern is lieber, and the superlative form is am liebsten. So, ich esse gern Spargel, ich esse lieber Spinat, I like to eat asparagus, I prefer to eat spinach, aber ich esse am liebsten Karotten, I don't know, carrots. My favorite thing to eat is carrots. Sojabohnen, yeah, soybeans. Okay, now this doesn't look like an exception, the next one I have on there, gross, größer, but it is, and I'll explain why. See if you look at it, if you can figure it out. Remember, if the stem ends in an S as well as a T and a Z, before you add the superlative form, you're supposed to add another E, an E. And gross, größer, größten, am größten, größten does not get that E. So that's what I've underlined over here. No, it isn't. But it's größten, größt, and not größest. So gross, größer, am größten, and it's kind of an important one because it's used a lot. People say big, bigger, biggest, that kind of, that's our biggest thing, but it's used a lot, so you should know. It's am größten. Like I say, we've already talked about gut, besser, best, and this one, not as important. These next two, not as important as these. It's not used as much, but hoch, high, the word for high. So now, look at that. I was about to just use this sentence. That's a high mountain. But immediately I was going to employ the rule. Hoch is only used in the positive form. In the comparative form, the C disappears. So das ist ein hoher Berg oder ein höher Berg, right? Das ist ein höher Berg. And höchst. And then nah, näher, next, near, close, closer, closest. Okay? We're almost done, Doc. We're almost done. Oh no. Oh, look at those notes. And this is the last point I want to make. The adjective ends in E, you need only to add an R. Leiser, leiser, am leisesten. Quiet, quieter, most quiet. And of course, remember dunkel from the adjective endings Anytime you add an ending to dunkel, you drop that E in front of the L. The same is true in the comparative form. Dunkel, dunkle, dunkelste. Okay, and the same is true of toya, and these are words used a lot, toya, and then it's not toyerer, it's just toyerer. That E disappears, as it did with dunkel and toyeste. Now, I don't want you here when I get blasted by the doc. We'll see if I'm even in class the next day, but I think I'm going to have to lie down. I think I'm going to have to lie down to listen to... Oh, God. What are you...
Sorry.
What is it?